The age of Space Marines is over.
This is a long time expected, and honestly, I wish this happened sooner. Not because I don't like the Firstborn, but it would have made sense for GW at 8th edition just to rip off the band-aid and go on full-on Primaris and just move on with that kind of model, than to hold its breath to slowly burn the Space Marines away for each codex.
Yes, get over it!
Even in 10th edition with Space Marines that I'm playing with aren't any better, they're still disadvantaged on their range of models and not having of 1 armor penetration on their bolters, so you have to utilize stronger weapons to compensate the army, and it's still difficult to play as.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Then again, it was way worse playing in 8th edition with Tactical Marines only having 1 wound, which later they added the same wounds as the Primaris, but there's still some keywords. It's kinda better now, but it hasn't changed how GW wants to get rid of Space Marines and just have Primaris to sell. Even at the start of 2024, they did an announcement after a couple months of 10th edition, they're going to move some of the Firstborn models into Legend. In other words, they won't update them anymore.
Fuck.
So, it won't be surprising they will either get rid of the Space Marines entirely or drag another 3 years of just disable Space Marines to the point it's unplayable in 11th edition. Or we could have another edition that heavily relies on fucking vehicles again for another 3 years and leaving most of my frontline army back on my shelf since they fucking die like flies.
For the love of God! Please!
At least they didn't do a dirty move like how they brought the Leviathan and Contemptor Dreadnoughts into plastic, and once those were out, 2 weeks later GW did a dirty move and pulled the carpet under them and put those Dreadnoughts into Legend for 40k. And it's only playable for 30k, which is the Horus Heresy.
Fucking nasty ass motherfucker, that's nasty, man!
British company stealing thieves from Dune, lawyer maxing colonizer IP looking ass. I guess all habits die hard, I guess.
Talk about taking your great universe and dumbing it down and making it even shittier.
So, it's evident that, probably in the next edition or later, that Space Marines will be out of the picture, hopefully sooner, so GW can go full Primaris. Then bring in a poor book with a poor author to explain why the Space Marines are, no longer exist, and etc. Think about it, it's always about their big push. This has been their big push with Primaris. It was about to sell more new models for the sake of selling. Plus, some other elements of wokeism, but I've already said my fair and share in other videos.
Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay.
Let's say, okay, you have the Firstborn army, already, or thinking of getting it for probably the next edition coming up soon. Who knows, for the 11th edition or the edition after. Then the question will be, what's the point for it? Well, I have a good idea. Since I'm doing it myself, already have a Firstborn army, so fuck it, we're bowling. And here's a couple ideas that I have at the top of my head, right? Or, well, I might have some more ideas later on as I video edit this. So, you can play the older editions, from 8th edition and before, all the way back to the first if you wanted to. And you can either have them in physical copies that you can buy, or find a way to get a digital copy from someone who can share it. It sounds vague because it's a general idea where you can find it, or what to look for at least, since GW is not a fan for fans to preserve the old codexes in public, and just cracks down anything that is not sellable that is directly to GW, which is not surprising at all.
One ugly motherfucker.
Tabletop Simulator is another choice you can do if you're unable to find someone in real life. Then keep in mind for the mods in Tabletop Simulator, most of them haven't been much updated since 8th edition. So you might have to do some extra work to either find a model you want to have or have to do a third-party model to compensate it. Another thing is, if you're unable to buy XYZ Firstborn model to play on tabletop, you can always substitute other models. A good example is 3D printing. Either you can find the original model and have it as your own. Again, GW is not a fan of that since the money doesn't go to them and all that. So you might as well find a proxy model that looks similar to it. Or you can find a much cooling Firstborn models or third-party models and have your own army to run with based on its rules. Okay, now if you want to get models or codexes and let's say for the sake of wanting to play something digital, honestly, just play Dawn of War, a 3rd edition translation into a video game and a good RTS game that was made to do massive battles, giving lots of references and quotes from that book. And if you are curious, I have done a video about Dawn of War that will never get a remaster or remake, and if they did, it would show how disastrous it will become since the lack of skill and knowledge of getting the whole point of what Dawn of War was meant to portray. There's already a couple options that I've given, and at the end, to be honest, the tools are right there. They're all there, all the options are there, and the only person who can pick up the tool and use it proper with a good amount of practice is you. And yeah, that'll be it for this video. It's short and simple. It isn't too much to say other than say goodbye to Firstborn Marines. And at some point in the next edition, which is the 11th, and if not in the next edition, then they will have to kill it off in the next couple editions. They can't really keep it hanging for no reason at all. They're going to have to rip the band-aid off and just say goodbye to Firstborn. So, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to check my Discord or my YouTube's community page for any updates, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye, my brothers, and take care.